Good morning. It is 11:43 a.m. where I am at, and I dug up some more information on individuals that have been deported or prevented from entering the U.S. It's going to be interesting. We'll start off with the read. Well, actually, the entire thing is a read. There's no video or anything, but it's still going to be pretty interesting.
The facts on noteworthy individuals deported or prevented from entering the U.S. The deportation of American citizens. The media has falsely claimed that ICE is deporting U.S. citizen children of illegal aliens. This is false. In both cases, the mother made the determination to take her children with her back to Honduras. DHS takes our responsibility to protect children seriously and will continue to work with federal law enforcement to ensure that children are safe and protected. The Trump administration is giving parents who are in this country illegally the opportunity to self-deport and take control of their departure process with the potential ability to return the legal, right way and come back to live the American dream. The CBP Home app is a free and easy way to self-deport. Kilmer Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man. Garcia is not an American citizen. He is a citizen of El Salvador who had been living in the country illegally. In 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was not only a member of MS 13, but that he was in our country illegally. There was a deportation order for him dating back to 2019. Further details about Garcia's history prove that he is far from innocent.
Understand that. It says that there was already a 2019 order for his deportation. That was in 2019, which means he was already notified that he should have been leaving the country. They told him, listen, you can't stay here. You got to go. But he didn't go. Well, he did go several times back and forth. Then when he came back across, there were times where he brought other people with him. Shouldn't have been here as well.
In 2020, his wife filed a petition for protection citing 3 separate instances of violence. In 2021, his wife filed for a restraining order against him due to domestic violence. In 2022, Garcia was pulled over by Tennessee Highway Patrol with 8 people crammed into one car. Despite telling the officers that they were going on a trip from Houston, Texas to Temple Hills, Maryland, there was no sign of luggage in the car.
Twice his wife filed orders of protection to keep him away from her. Twice. Why would you have to do it more than once? I have no idea. If somebody's bad for you, stay away from them. It just makes sense. And then he's caught. He's caught in the act of smuggling other people that shouldn't be in the U.S. into the U.S. And they let him go. And nobody seems to know why. Nobody knows who gave the order to let him go. It just came from higher up. So the troopers on the scene went, follow orders. Gotta go.
It was later revealed that the vehicle Garcia was driving during this stop was registered to another illegal alien who had been convicted of human trafficking, Jose Ramon Hernandez Reyes. The media further claimed that the Supreme Court ordered the Trump administration to return Garcia to the United States. This is another falsehood. The Supreme Court unanimously overturned that judge's ruling but instead said that the United States should facilitate Garcia's return. This would only be possible if the government of El Salvador decided to return him, in which case the United States would have to provide transportation. It's up to Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele and the government of El Salvador if they want to return him. But as President Bukele said during his Oval Office visit with President Trump, he has no intention of releasing a terrorist and sending him back to the United States. When President Trump declared MS 13 a foreign terrorist organization, Abrego Garcia became no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. He had a valid deportation order, Furthermore, the Supreme Court also held that even if El Salvador returned this MIS-13 member to the United States, we could deport him a second time. And no version of this legally ends with him ever living in the U.S. because he is a citizen of El Salvador. The foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President, not by a court, and no court in the United States has the power to conduct the foreign policy of the United States.
Now that's true. There is not a federal court. There is not a district court. There is not a state or local court anywhere that says that the president absolutely has to conduct foreign affairs a certain way. They just don't have the authority. That's between the president and Congress. And that's it. Those are the only two powers involved there. But yet these district courts, sometimes federal courts, feel that they can just write an order and poof, just like magic, that's the law. And it's not the law. It's not.
Dr. Rasha Alawiye, the Brown University assistant professor. Dr. Rasha Alawiye was an assistant professor at Brown University. She was in the United States with an H-1B visa. She was deported back to her home country of Lebanon after she admitted to attending the funeral of Hassan Nasrallah, a brutal terrorist who led Hezbollah and was responsible for killing hundreds of Americans. The media tried to portray Alawiye's case as an example of a lawful immigrant being deported. But they completely ignored her direct and alarming ties to radical Islamic terrorism, including her veneration of a dead terrorist leader.
If somebody goes to the funeral of a terrorist leader, well, first of all, you kind of have a respect for somebody to just go to a funeral, especially one that's in another country. So she goes to this funeral. She's obviously there because she respects the person who's passed on. The person who's passed on is a known terrorist leader. Excuse me for pointing this out, or don't. If you're going to show some respect for a terrorist leader, then you obviously support what the terrorist leader is doing, which means you support terrorist group, which means you're a problem. There's no telling what you're going to do for them if they ask you to, or when they're going to ask you to. You see? So that's it. As far as I'm concerned, that's enough.
Alfredo Alex Orellana, the caregiver. Alfredo Alex Orellana has multiple charges on his record from 2012 to 2019, including distributing drugs, drug possession, assault, and battery, failure to appear to court, twice, theft at the second degree, and larceny. He has since been arrested and faces deportation. The New York Times wrote a lengthy article on Orellana's case. Their article painted a picture of a loving 31-year-old caregiver who was the best friend of a 28-year-old autistic man. They also pointed to the fact that Orellana had a green card. The press tried to paint him as a victim who was a caretaker, despite violent charges on his record.
So this guy has committed violent crimes, between 2012 and 2019. It's all a matter of record. Now, this is not something that somebody just said. He's been through the system. He had due process. He was charged. He was found guilty of these. Still in the States. Why? I don't know. I have no idea. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. You say he was the best friend of an autistic man. That's very sweet. And I'm not saying he wasn't friends with the guy. I'm not saying that at all. God bless him for it. I'm serious. I mean that. But it doesn't make everything else he's done okay. And it doesn't make the fact that he was in the United States under those conditions, green card or not.
Jers Reyes Barrios, the Venezuelan soccer player. Jers Reyes Barrios was in the United States illegally. He was a member of the vicious trendy Aragua gang, and he was deported to El Salvador. He has tattoos that are consistent with those indicating membership in the vicious trendy Aragua gang. His own social media indicates that he is a trendy Aragua member. That hasn't stopped the media, however. They tried to whip up a frenzy over this deported criminal gang member, publishing wild claims that he was deported because of a tattoo of a soccer team on his arm. The facts are the facts. Our intelligence assessments go beyond just social media and tattoos. We are confident in our finding.
Not everything about a legal case of any kind, is made public right away out there for everybody to see on social media. The federal government doesn't say, oh, well, we're going to deport this guy. Let's plaster it all over Facebook. They don't do that. You have to go look. You have to go find it. If there's something you feel you need to know in order to discuss it authoritatively, go find out. And this person also, several reasons why they should not be in the United States.
Nascimento Blair, the ex-con. Blair was an illegal alien living in the United States who was tried and convicted for kidnapping and sentenced to 15 years in prison. The New York Times published a fawning profile about this criminal illegal alien. In 2008, he was ordered removed out of the country. However, because of the Biden administration's open border policies, this criminal illegal alien was released onto the streets of New York. The Trump administration is putting the American people first by getting this criminal illegal alien off the streets.
Now, again, someone who's proven through the court system, through due process, to be a bad element, dangerous person. We have enough dangerous people in this country who are born here. We don't need any more. We're full up to here with dangerous people.
And out of our country. The French scientist denied entry over his political views. I could find no picture or name of the person.
Yeah, this person I couldn't find anything about. I couldn't find a name. I couldn't find a picture. I couldn't find anything at all.
In March, a French scientist was denied entry into the United States. The researcher in question was in possession of confidential information on his electronic device from Los Alamos National Laboratory. This was in clear violation of a non-disclosure agreement, something he admitted to taking without permission, and it...
Okay, so he takes information out of a laboratory in Los Alamos on an electronic device. It could be a cell phone, it could be a laptop, doesn't matter what it is. He could have printed it out on paper, it doesn't matter. He shouldn't have had it. And now he's going to go and leave the country with it. Where's he going to go? Who's he going to talk to? What information was it? We don't know. Was it sensitive information as far as national security? We don't know. So, yeah, stop the guy. It's that simple. Well, that person. I don't know if it's a guy.
Attempted to conceal to authorities. The mainstream media ran with the baseless narrative that this individual was blocked from entering the U.S. because of social media posts that were critical of President Trump. This lie was even echoed by France's Minister for Higher Education, Philippe Baptiste. His political beliefs were not considered at all in his removal.
So nothing to do with political issues whatsoever. And everything to do that he stole something from a secure environment that was obviously very sensitive. He was going to take it someplace and do something with it. Who knows? And that had to be stopped. So they stopped it.
Marie Le Pen and Charlotte Pohl, German tourists turned away on vacation. 2 German tourists were denied entry after attempting to enter the U.S. under false pretenses. Both claimed they were touring California but later admitted that they intended to work. One used a visitor visa, while the other used the visa waiver program. Under U.S. immigration laws, work is prohibited for these visas. The media version of events depicted two young women who tried to go on a 5-week backpacking trip through the United States. The media claimed that the two, aged 18 and 19, were deported because they simply wanted to go on a fun, loosely planned trip. These travelers weren't deported, they were denied entry. And the reason for their removal was visa fraud, not because of the planning nature of their so-called vacation.
If they're going to lie about the reason why they got the visas, if they're going to lie on the visas, what else are they going to lie about? What else did they lie about? I don't know. I wasn't there. I am not an expert on the subject. All I know is I felt that there was something I had to know, so I went and I found it out. It's something you need to know to discuss it authoritatively at all. Go find out. Now this next one is kind of sensitive for me because it kind of ticked me off a little bit. Well, a little more than the others.
Jose Hermosillo, the American citizen detained by Border Patrol. Hermosillo turned himself into immigration authorities on April 8. He approached Border Patrol in Tucson, Arizona, and declared that he had entered the U.S. illegally.
Now, he said it. He said it. He said, hey, I'm coming into the country illegally. They don't know this guy. They don't know this guy. They don't live in his neighborhood. They don't know his parents. They no idea who he is. So he comes across the border, coming north, and says, hey, I'm entering illegally. So they believed him. Why not? Why would he do that to himself on purpose?
He completed a sworn statement identifying as a Mexican citizen who had entered unlawfully. He was processed and appeared in court on April.
He filled out a report that said he was an illegal alien. Stop. He filled out a report that said he was an illegal alien. Why wouldn't Border Patrol believe him from all that? They hadn't had a chance to check anything yet. And remember, they're still sitting in the situation where he's come across the border, all right? And within a matter of an hour or whatever, there he is. He's filling out this report and he's talking to people and he says he's an illegal alien. Again, why wouldn't they take his word for it? Who would lie about a thing like that?
11th. Afterwards, he was held by the U.S. Marshals in Florence, Arizona. A few days later, his family presented documents showing U.S. citizenship. The charges were dismissed, and he was released to his family.
The part that really upsets me about this is that I think it would have been possible for them to discern rather quickly that he was a permanent U.S. citizen. So they should have done that faster. I believe that. That's, in all fairness, should he have done what he did? No, it was stupid. That was a stupid thing to do. Now, I'm not calling him stupid. I've seen some very intelligent people do some incredibly stupid things, including me. If I kept a logbook of all the crazy harebrained things I ever did in my life, you'd be laughing out of your chair. You would. But this was a stupid thing. You shouldn't have done it. It was crazy. So it's his fault. It's his fault that he ended up being detained in the first place. Okay? It is Border Patrol's fault that he was detained so long. Now I understand people verify information like that. Offices, wheels of bureaucracy moves very, very slowly. I get that. But that long? I don't get it. But I'm not an expert on it.
The media, instead of reporting the facts, created a false and baseless story that an American citizen was illegally detained. Hermosilio's arrest was the direct action of his own actions and statements. When his citizenship was confirmed, he was promptly released back to his family.
When they found out he was an American citizen, they said, "Oh, there you go. Terribly sorry about that. Let's have some family come and get you."
Ksenia Petrova, the Russian scientist trying to cure cancer. Ksenia Petrova, a Russian researcher working for Harvard University, was lawfully detained after lying to federal officers about carrying substances into the country. A subsequent K9 inspection uncovered undeclared Petri dishes, containers of unknown substances, and loose vials of embryonic frog cells, all without proper permits. Messages found on her phone revealed she planned to smuggle the materials through customs without declaring them.
Okay. On her own phone, there were text messages between her and another person where she said that she was going to smuggle the stuff into the United States without declaring them. Why would you want to bring that stuff into the United States? Where does it seem okay to do that sort of thing? Doesn't that seem just a little bit suspicious? Even if the intention was benign, that's not the point. Everything said that she was guilty of smuggling biological materials into the United States.
She knowingly broke the law and took deliberate steps to evade it. But upon her detainment, the media rushed to defend her by claiming that her research could help to cure cancer.
And I want to know, I couldn't find anything out about these biological samples. Nothing. But the media says she was trying to cure cancer. I don't know that. I want to know where they got the information from.
The facts of the matter are simple. Petrova broke the law and actively planned to do so. Her research does not make her exempt from the laws of our country. Renato Sabatic, the MMA coach. Sabatic is an MMA coach who entered the United States under a visa waiver program that prohibits compensation. Only travel reimbursements are allowed. When Sabatic was detained under American law, the media claimed that he was thrown in prison and deported for no real reason. Here are the facts. Sabatic couldn't meet the requirement to prove he wasn't being compensated for participating at a high-dollar, multi-day event. The law is clear.
Now, this event, there should have been someone, event organizers, someone who could come forth and say, yes, we know Mr. Sabatic, he's a decent guy, he's volunteering his time for us. Well, that would have been okay, right? But none of that was available. If you can't find that information, it's probably not there.
Here, the burden of proof is on the traveler. Since he couldn't provide detailed answers or the necessary documentation for compensation related to the work event, he was held until the next available flight out the following day. Ricardo Jesus Prada Vasquez, the disappearing delivery driver. Yet again, the media has manufactured a fake controversy on behalf of a terrorist gang member and criminal illegal alien. Ricardo Jesus Prada Vasquez is a Venezuelan national and confirmed member of Trendy Aragua. He entered the United States illegally on November 29, 2024 at the Brownsville, Texas port of entry via the CBP-1 app. The Biden administration, like it did with so many other dangerous criminals, released Prada Vasquez back into the United States.
Okay, here's the thing. This guy's a verified gang member. Trendy Aragua. I'm sure you've heard of them. And the order came down from somewhere that said, yeah, okay, well, he's a gang member. Yeah, he might be kind of dangerous, but yeah, let's just let him stay in the States anyway. We won't even keep track of him. Again, where does that make sense?
On January 15th, Prada was encountered trying to enter the U.S. from Canada. He was detained, investigated, and confirmed as a member of TDA and a public safety threat. On February 27th, A judge ordered him removed from the U.S.
Now, understand this. Again, a judge. So he went through due process. Stop. Due process. He went through due process. That's it. And it was deemed that he had to leave through due process. So these people are screaming out, well, these people don't get due process. They get due process. I did a whole video on the process.
He was then removed to El Salvador. The media, however, has falsely claimed that Prada Vasquez was an innocent delivery driver who was disappeared by the government. Prada Vasquez was living and working in the U.S. illegally. He was a member of a criminal gang designated as a terrorist organization and was deported with full compliance with American law.
I go to a website called Both Sides. It's a news site. Gives you the stories from different news outlets. And it tells you whether that outlet leans right, leans left, they're in the center, fine mix of it all. It tells you that. So you can decide what you want to believe. Good site. They're not a sponsor, but that's what I go to quite a bit.
Jeanette Vizquera, the activist who needed sanctuary. Jeanette Vizquera is a convicted criminal alien from Mexico who has a final order of deportation issued by a federal immigration judge. She illegally entered the United States near El Paso, Texas, on December 24, 1997, and has received legal due process in U.S. immigration court. The media.
Again, due process. She went through the court system. She went through the court system, had due process. Stop. That's it. Had the due process. Can she appeal? Yes. Yes, she can appeal. The whole video on that.
However, has tried to turn her into a martyr. They claim she was an activist who needed sanctuary. In reality, she getting famous and making money for breaking the law. Under President Trump, this is a nation of laws. We will find, arrest, and deport illegal aliens, no matter how famous the media thinks they are. Vizquera was in the United States illegally. She was convicted of breaking the law. She was deported. If you come to our country illegally, we will deport you, and you will never return. The safest option for illegal aliens is to self-deport, so they still have the opportunity to return and live the American dream.
If they leave voluntarily, on their own, they get paid $1,000 US. $1,000 US. Now, you go south, the Mexican border, that's a lot of money. Seriously. So they don't even have to go south. They can get on a plane, they can go anywhere they want to. The trip will be paid for. And all the food, they get paid $1,000 for it. Now, any children with them, they get a gift. Hey, sorry for making you leave the United States. I know it's not much, but to let you know, we appreciate you. God bless the children, and I mean that.
The facts on those who have abused the privilege of a student visa. Yunzio Chung, the Columbia student. Yunzio Chung, who was born in South Korea, is a Columbia University student who engaged in concerning conduct on campus. This includes her being arrested by NYPD during a pro-Hamas protest at Bernard College.
Now people are going to say, so she was at a protest. So what? What was she doing at the protest? It doesn't say. But what was she doing at the protest? If you're at a protest and you start throwing bricks, if you start attacking people, I'm sorry, but you're breaking the law. You're breaking the law. It's that simple. It's not a whole bunch of gray areas in there. There is a line, and if you cross that line, you're breaking the law, and you deserve to make recompense for it. Period. And this is one of them.
Mahmoud Khalil, the activist leader at
Oh boy, this dude was. You'll find it. Hey, here we go.
Columbia. Mahmoud Khalil, a former Columbia University graduate student from Syria, is one of the ringleaders of the vicious, anti-American, anti-Semitic protests at Columbia University. His activities are aligned with Hamas, a designated terrorist organization. On March 9, 2025, in support of President Trump's executive orders prohibiting anti-Semitism, and in coordination with the Department of State, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested Khalil. But upon his arrest, radical student protesters at Columbia and across the country have attempted to turn him into a martyr, waving signs and banners bearing his likeness. Taking over private buildings, inciting violence, harassing Jewish students, defacing buildings, and passing out terrorist propaganda do not constitute free speech. As of June 20, 2025, a federal judge ruled in favor of Khalil's release as the case plays out.
So right now, he is out. He's unmonitored, and he is out doing whatever it is he's going to do. He's clearly someone who hates Jews. Okay, why would somebody hate somebody just because they're a Jew? I have friends who are Jewish. Fantastic people. They're friendly. They're hardworking. I've never been stabbed in the back by a Jewish individual. Well, yeah, never a Jewish individual. Some people in this world are just really popular targets, even people who don't know them. But that's those are stories for another time.
Mohsen Madawi, the Palestinian at Columbia University. Madawi is a Palestinian who has been living in the United States on a visa while he was studying at Columbia University. Like many other anti-Israel student protesters, supporters in the media tried to claim that Madawi was a victim of political persecution. But his rhetoric on the war in Israel proves his terrorist sympathies. In the wake of October 7th, Madawi said he could empathize with Hamas's attack on Israel. He appeared on 60 Minutes justifying the massacre. He organized and led pro-Hamas protests on Columbia University's campus, harassed Jewish students, and openly displayed his support for a terrorist organization.
He openly says, he makes it no secret whatsoever, that he supported the attack on Israel, the death of thousands of unarmed civilians, the kidnapping, the taking of hostages. If you say that you support that, then you're liable to do just about anything for the people who did that. So it's just a matter of time before they would ask you to do something terrible. And then since you support them, hey, what is to stop people from believing you'd actually do what they ask? Nothing. Nothing. Here comes another one. Here we go.
Lika Cordia, the Palestinian at Columbia University. Lika Cordia was another Columbia student who actively participated in anti-American, pro-terrorist activities on campus. However, her arrest had nothing to do with her radical activities. Cordia was arrested for immigration violations due to having overstayed her F1 student visa, which had been terminated on January 26, 2022 for lack of attendance.
Okay, so she came to the United States and got a visa to go to school, right? She was so busy, it seems, doing things that were anti-Jewish, really anti-American, that she just didn't go to class. Well, your visa says you're here to go to school. You have to go to school. Do you think they don't check stuff like that? Of course they do. And sometimes things end up being discovered by accident. something pops across somebody's desk somewhere, and, well, your name just happens to be on it. I can't wrap my head around it. I really can't.
Aiden, the University of Minnesota student. Aiden, a graduate student at the University of Minnesota, was arrested after a visa revocation by the State Department related to a prior criminal history for a DUI. Contrary to the mainstream media's quick speculation that he was arrested due to his involvement in student protests, his protest activity had nothing to do with his detainment.
This person had a criminal history for driving under the influence. Of what? I don't know. I wasn't there. But I will say this, if he's got a history of it, then that makes it criminal behavior. Seriously. If you break the law habitually, do criminal things habitually, you're a criminal. Don't like it? So what? It's what it is. I didn't make it up. And this guy kept doing it. So they just decided to revoke his visa. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Badarkhan Suri, the Georgetown foreign exchange student. Suri was a foreign exchange student at Georgetown University actively spreading Hamas propaganda and promoting anti-Semitism on social media. The media calls him a scholar who was innocent of any wrongdoing, even though he was married to the daughter of a senior advisor for the Hamas terrorist group.
Okay, here you've got somebody who works for Hamas as a daughter. Okay. This person is married to that daughter. Do you honestly believe he's not involved in activities having to do with the operations of Hamas? Somewhere along the line in some way. I don't. I absolutely don't.
Mamadou Tall, the Cornell University student. Tall was unapologetic in his pro-terrorist views. Tall, a foreign student studying at Cornell University, participated in pro-Hamas protests on campus. He has a pinned post on his X profile that talks about a so-called Zionist genocide, and also states, "Long live the student intifada."
He is openly in support of Zionist genocide. Okay? Excuse me, but if somebody walks into anywhere and starts mistreating somebody, it'll be a restaurant, library, anywhere, somebody's going to call the police. That person's going to have witnesses pop up, and they're going to say, yeah, that person was trying to hurt that person, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Excuse me. His views sparked other people's behavior. He encouraged those people to go do terrible things to people who, I can't say they didn't deserve it because I don't know the people. But I'm going to say, you shouldn't do that. You know, if you come to a country to go to school, do your studies, you know, keep your views to yourself and go back home. Then start expressing your views. Really, especially if your views are going to be inflammatory. If you're going to do something that's openly violent speech, you're going to get in trouble for that. Yes, there's a First Amendment, but not all speech is protected speech. How do I know that? I went and I found out. You want to know about it? Start reading and researching the Constitution. Go find out.
Other fake news narratives corrected. The Biden administration's inflated deportation numbers. DHS uncovered what should be a massive scandal. The Biden administration was cooking the books on ICE arrest data. They were purposefully misleading the American public by categorizing individuals processed and released into the interior of the United States as ICE arrests. The Biden administration was cooking the books on ICE arrest data. They were purposefully misleading the American public by categorizing individuals processed and released into the interior of the United States as ICE arrests. The Biden administration was cooking the books on ICE arrest data. They were purposefully misleading the American public by categorizing individuals processed and released into the interior of the United States as ICE arrests. Of course, the media ignored this fact. Instead, they falsely claimed that the Biden administration had carried out more arrests than the Trump administration. Tens of thousands of cases recorded as arrests were, in fact, instances where illegal aliens were simply processed and released into American communities. Many of these were violent criminals and gang members. The previous administration counted these as arrests even though no immigration enforcement action was taken. During fiscal year 2024, ICE made 113,431 arrests, but the vast majority of those were what we call pass-through arrests. They are called pass-through arrests because ICE didn't take enforcement actions against these aliens.
They just let them go. They arrested them. They processed them. Went to court. But then they just let them disappear. It's pass-through arrest. Why would you do that? You arrest someone, you conduct an investigation, you find out they did something, and you go, that's okay. You can go ahead.
They just passed through ICE before they were released in the U.S. Interior and told to report to an ICE office. None of the arrests made by ICE.
Who, anywhere? How many people? If you tell them, hey, listen, tell you what, you're gonna be in a lot more trouble. So, if you end up talking ICE again, you're gonna end up in a lot more trouble. But come and talk to them anyway. Who's gonna go talk to them? Where does that make? I say that far too often.
Since January 20th are pass-through arrests. The difference between recent arrests and those from Biden's last year is that now we're taking enforcement actions against each and every illegal alien arrested. ICE Boston militia rumors. The media eagerly fed and spread a false social media rumor that an ICE agent who conducted arrests of criminal illegal aliens in New England was a militia leader from Arizona. The reality? He is a federal law enforcement officer who has worked with ICE to help keep New England communities safe for years.
So this guy is a working, registered, trained, licensed federal officer. And without doing any kind of anything, or as far as finding out anything else about the person, the press just said, yeah, he's a bad guy.
This claim was not only false, but also inflammatory and places the safety of federal officers in jeopardy. Our ICE officers are facing 300% increase in assaults while carrying out enforcement operations. Due process and treatment rumors in Chicot. These aliens have had due process. We have a stringent law enforcement assessment in place that abides by due process under the U.S. Constitution. The reality is that prison isn't supposed to be fun. It's a necessary measure to protect society and punish bad guys. It is not meant to be comfortable. What's more, prison can be avoided by self-deportation. CBP Home makes it simple and easy. If you are a criminal alien and we have to deport you, you could end up in Guantanamo Bay or Chicot. Leave now. DOJ and ICE allegedly collecting sensitive data from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. The Biden administration flooded the U.S. with tens of millions of illegal immigrants, many of which are exploiting the American taxpayer by illegally getting Medicare and other benefits meant for law-abiding Americans. President Trump consistently promised to protect Medicare for eligible beneficiaries. To keep that promise, DOJ, CMS, and DHS are exploring an initiative to ensure that illegal aliens are not receiving these benefits not meant for them. The media claimed that ICE is working with the Department of Government Efficiency, DOJ, to access sensitive personal information in order to identify illegal aliens. These claims are meant to frighten the American people, when in reality this process is working to keep them and their benefits safe from exploitation by illegal aliens. ICE HSI presence at schools. ICE's Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, works relentlessly to protect Americans, especially children, who are put in danger by illegal alien activity. This includes investigations into potential child sex trafficking. But the media has tried to spin their investigative work into the idea that they are going to elementary schools to arrest children. H.D. Cook Elementary School. What?
Okay, you gotta ask yourself, super important question. Why would anybody go to a school, an elementary school, to arrest children? Children. Elementary school children. That can't possibly register as truthful on, well, any planet. Come on.
Washington, D.C. At the H.D. Cook Elementary School in Washington, D.C., ICE did not conduct any enforcement action at the school. HSI agents were present at the school unrelated to any kind of enforcement act.
And yet, there were people there to stop the deportation of the children when that wasn't even what was happening. There's a difference between HSI, ICE, FBI, local law enforcement, sheriff's department, state troopers, federal marshals. They all have different offices completely. They do certain jobs. And when one office needs another office with them, because there's going to be things that they're going to be need doing that these people are not licensed to do, they need these people because they are. Look at your jackets, look at your badges, ask questions, find out, look at the people who are there. If it's not ICE, then it's probably there's nothing to do with immigration. Think about that.
Russell Elementary and Lillian Elementary in Los Angeles. At two different elementary schools in Los Angeles, California, HSI officers were conducting wellness checks on children who arrived unaccompanied at the border. It had nothing to do with immigration enforcement. DHS is leading efforts to conduct welfare checks on these children to ensure that they are safe and not being exploited, abused, and sex trafficked. Unlike the previous administration, President Trump and Secretary Noem take the responsibility to protect children seriously and will continue to work with federal law enforcement to reunite children with their families. In less than 70 days, Secretary Noem and Secretary Kennedy have already reunited nearly 5,000 unaccompanied children with a relative or safe guardian.
People are saying, well, they're tearing families apart. Not tearing families apart, they're putting them back together. Right?
Immigrant children detained at Old MacDonald Farm in New York. In early April, a raid was carried out on a dairy farm in New York after the execution of a federal criminal warrant for an illegal alien in possession of plus distributing child sexual abuse materials. Upon the execution of the search warrant at Old MacDonald's Farm in Sackett's Harbor, New York, authorities encountered 7 additional illegal aliens on the premises, including a mother and her 3 children. We immediately began conducting an investigation to ensure these children are not being sexually exploited. But rather than address the very real evidence of child sexual abuse, the media chose to focus on the fact that a woman and her 3 children were taken into custody. DHS takes its responsibility to protect children seriously, and our ICE officers are working every day to remove pedophiles from American community.
Understand this, the children were not arrested. The children were not arrested. Period. The mother was taken into custody because she was an illegal alien, but the children were not arrested. And on top of that, they didn't just rip the kids out of the mother's arms. They didn't do that. If you look into this, and I'm going to leave you to do it, because if it's something you need to know, and you really should know this, it's important. Go find out. Dig it up. If I can do it, you can do it.
TDA members being identified via tattoos. Some have claimed that DHS assessments of TDA and other gang memberships are based solely on the tattoos that certain illegal aliens have. DHS intelligence assessments go well beyond just gang affiliate tattoos and social media. Trendy Aragua is one of the most violent and ruthless terrorist gangs on planet Earth. They rape, maim, and murder for sport. President Trump and Secretary Noem will not allow criminal gangs to terrorize American citizens. We are confident in our law enforcement's intelligence, and we aren't going to share intelligence reports and undermine national security every time a gang member denies he is one. That would be insane.
Insane indeed. Now, each one of these cases, it's absolutely true. The press made claims that just absolutely were not true. My advice to you is, don't listen to the press, just like they're telling you the truth all the time. Take what they say, extract the really important information out of it, go do some research, go find out. It's not that hard. A lot of this stuff is just a matter of typing some stuff into a search engine and hitting enter. You know, chickadee, boom, hey, there's some facts. You might have to sort through some garbage to get to it, but you know what? Don't be lazy. Go do it. Trust me, you'll feel a whole lot better about the discussion that you have. And then on top of that, you'll have things to present to people when they say, "Well, what makes you think that? Where's your proof of that?" You can actually give them something. You can actually give them something. You can say, "Well, here's the evidence I found," instead of just saying, "Oh, well, you're stupid," or "I hate Trump," or something else completely mindless. I am not the world's biggest Trump supporter. I'm really not. When he speaks, sometimes I cringe a little. You know what I'm saying? And I think that he boasts about himself far, far too much. But I don't hate the man just because of that. Don't waste your time on hate on anybody. Life is far, far too short. And speaking of short, I didn't intend this video to be this long. But if you could give us a like, a follow, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. It really does make a difference. It truly does. Even just a thumbs up, a share, anything like that would be absolutely fantastic. I would be grateful, really. I would. With all that in mind, I want to thank you for your time. God bless you, and God bless America.